It's been a great time all day. Super cold, super chilly here in Austin, Texas. What better than do something like this in Texas in the summer? We're all really enjoying it and staying frozen. So, Karim, I'm gonna invite you up. You can take the sort of paved road, as we call it, rather an off road. I'm gonna hand you this mic. Make sure the team does a little mic check, and you do too, and so you can take it away. Thanks, Karim.
Thank you, Jordan. Mic check. So where are we today? Where are we? Austin, where are we? Great Daily House. With who are we with? Yes, the best, the best of the best. I like that answer. So it's with great pleasure that we have some champions of industry that we are going to learn so much from. I'm so honored, humbled, and pleasured to have the three following outstanding business folks that we have all heard of. And if you haven't, you should be paying attention. So first up, we're going to have Lou. Come on over, Lou. KuCoin Labs, take a mic. Thank you for coming. And then we have Jason Urban, Galaxy Digital. I'm getting their names right. Stefan Rust of Laguna. Please come. So the way we start, we're all going to sit down, make it easy for all of us. It's hot. Lou, I'm going to have you start off with a little bit of a background of who you are and what's been most curious to you as you start in your journey here.
Okay, so first of all, this is Lou. I'm the head of KuCoin Labs, which is the investment arm of KuCoin Exchange. So my background is in negotiation. So I have been in KuCoin, yeah, since like forever. Since I have joined, the whole crypto area, and I have went through the testnet of what's now KuCoin Community Chain over my first year, and then I took over this investment arm of KuCoin and rebranded it as KuCoin Labs. So now we focus mainly on primary market investment and incubation. And what we try to do is we really try to, help those builders, especially in the US and in Europe, to grow in their markets, in their ideas, and try to help those scientists to really make those products happen and really make this mass adoption happen. Yeah.
Thomas.
So my name's Jason Urban.
Jason, sorry.
No, it's all good. My name's Jason Urban. I'm the down in Texas. That's how we do it. I am the co-head of trading at Galaxy Digital. For those of you who don't know Galaxy is a full-service, some call a merchant bank, some call financial services company inside of the crypto space. We have multiple lines of business, everything from trading, which is the division that I run, asset management, which opens the door for TradFi organizations to step in, an advisory or investment banking business, so help with capital formation, mergers and acquisitions. Clients will come to us and say, I want to buy this or I want to do that. A principal investments division, which makes everything from pre-seed to multiple series down the line, and then a mining division. So we're actually running our own miners, as well as helping miners in the space, both Bitcoin as well as other proof of stake projects.
Thank you, Jason. Oh, was it Thomas? Thank you, Jason. Stefan.
Depends who's asking.
Hi, I'm Stefan. I'm super happy to be here despite the 35 degrees Celsius or the 95 Fahrenheit. But it's a gorgeous day, and we're here in Austin. I'm the founder and CEO of Laguna Labs, and we're basically building out a inflation-protected DeFi ecosystem. We launched our flagship product, which is Trueflation.com, where we aggregate over 10 million items from multiple different price sources, the information, and put real-world financial and economic data and make that available either through smart contracts, through an API feed, but always verifiable on-chain. And we're building activities. So we're builders. We have 60 developers. software engineers with crypto experience that combined, we have over 60, 70 years of Bitcoin and crypto experience.
So thank you so much for that. I want to ask you before we move ahead, what happened to the first Bitcoin that you bought at $5? Do you still have that?
So I wouldn't know if I had that one specific, but yes, I do still have some. But like all of us that got into Bitcoin really early, we used that Bitcoin over time and we spent it. We then acquired some more. We then used it. I was not the person that spent 10,000 Bitcoins to buy the pizza though. But yeah, I did pay a lot of developers. I started off my career as a supporting and growing developer agency. And we were paying developers around the world in Bitcoin. And if they wanted to be paid in Bitcoin. And it was actually a developer that asked me to pay them in Bitcoin. And I said, what the hell is that? And then, but when he asked me to then actually pay him once I had acquired it, the price went from $500 to $300. So I said, oh man, much cheaper to use you now. So I then paid him in Bitcoin at the dollar equivalent. And yeah, it was instantaneous and it was no fees. And I was hooked from then on in. It was just, anyway, yeah, it was a great experience. And I've loved it ever since. So then we built out a developer network. We acquired thousands of developers focused on crypto, on Bitcoin at the time. There was no Ethereum. And then the Ethereum market came along, smart contracts. We've had so much innovation in the Bitcoin area. I mean, or crypto, Web3, whatever you want to call it. But we've had so much innovation that I think the magnitude you can only look and appreciate if you look back. You look at smart contracts that came out. You look at the new coins, the new blockchains that came out. Every time it got expensive on one, we forked and we created a cheaper version of providing transactions for free and instantaneous. DeFi, NFT, DAOs, and where are we going to go in the future? You know, I think you've got some of the leaders here that are building and investing in identifying what those look like. So
there are a lot of questions that are going to come out of this, and I'm hoping to touch a little bit about the whole inflation policy and why Bitcoin was created and what that actually means, whether it's a hedge against inflation, and all of those questions still up in the air. But I actually want to touch back on some of the stuff that you're doing in relation to the loan environment staked against.
Yep. So if you think about the ecosystem that we're in, for those who are financial players, if you're trading, if you're Jump, if you're somebody like that who's transacting, you're dealing with an asset that it's a cash and carry. And so because of that, everything is effectively hard to borrow. And so there is a need for people to borrow that. Additionally, there are people that don't want to sell but need a different currency. So we see a lot of fiat, people pledging crypto to borrow fiat. We see a lot of people who will pledge one crypto to borrow another one because they may have a need for it or something that they're building on or something that they're working with. And so there's a very robust, lend borrow market. And I think that you're seeing that started off in a very CeFi fashion, and now it's become very much DeFi as you move there. The issues that we run into with DeFi are the AML KYC components as people think about how do we get traditional pipes into this space. We need to solve some of those issues. But I think that the smart people that are here and the smart people that will listen to this will figure that out in a meaningful way.
I think this is a good lead into what you're doing at KuCoin Labs, right? It's like when you look at stuff that's being created and you're building for the future, and if you look at the financial economies that we're dealing with, how then, inflation, stagflation, deflation, appreciation, all of these things, they're standard economic terms and everything develops in a certain fashion. So how are we building products that take this into account as we move along the trajectory of timeline?
This is a very large question. Wow. I do think.
Just hold the mic close to you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I do think when we are looking at projects nowadays, a lot of them tell stories. The narratives, as we say. So they often have a storyline of a certain period for a certain period of time, as I know. So some of them have a story for 3 months, and they know it, and some of them do have a story for 2 years. And some of them don't have a story at all, and probably that's some kind of lack of marketing skills, but sometimes it means that they are here forever, and sometimes those kind of projects are those that we are looking at, and we are helping them to lay out their stories step by step. But because I believe, for example, when we are having a project having like 3 months narrative, it doesn't mean that after 3 months this project should be dead, or the whole team just spread out and they run off with all the money. No, probably not, because sometimes they do have a really great idea that they don't know how to make it last for more than 3 months. So what we do is we really look at the idea, the core of the idea, and tell them, okay, you told me this story of 3 months, but truly, if you modify it better, you how to say update all your mechanisms, no matter that's technically speaking or business wise, it can help you to have a very how to say healthy protocol that's been created that will be used, probably will benefit more and more developers, who will be building up their protocol up forking yours probably, but in other ecosystems. But yeah, I guess it's not that macro how to say perspective that we're looking at. We're really trying to.
The Bluetooth is disconnected.
Okay, still
Yeah.
works here.
She told me, okay, shut up. Start speaking.
Hello.
So, well, I didn't stop you, but Stefan, I know you've got a lot to say, and so does Jason. But I want to look forward as a springboard. Sometimes we're constrained with our outlooks, and we're worried day-to-day things. But as you peer into the future with Laguna Labs and looking forward, talk to us about the time horizons that you're looking at and what you anticipate happening in the mid to distant future with our global economy.
I mean, I definitely agree, right? I think, how do we build narratives that last, and how do we identify them? And not only because that ultimately that leads to the sustainability of a project, and largely it's the team that really has to drive that, and the leadership, and finding that product market fit is always hard. We, just as a live example, I mean, I started off in inflation, right? When all of a sudden this money was being printed, we then thought, inflation has to come. And so we just looked at it, we studied it. It's more than 100 years old. So the models that are used to calculate inflation were 100 years old. And so we studied it. How could we build something? Can we aggregate enough data to actually do it in real time? Can we build an infrastructure that works? And then all of a sudden a very famous individual posted a blog post that then said, I want a product around this. So it's like, all of a sudden this idea became a product. And then a product, but inflation, how long is inflation going to last? Are we going to have this forever? I don't know, but it's definitely going to last for the next period of time. How do we then take this product from just being inflation to something that can be used in a Web3 infrastructure world? What do we have in the real financial world that everybody needs on Web3? And so our view was, okay, financial and economic data, we have so much of that available in a Web 2 environment, but not available to developers that are looking to build that into smart contracts, into new decentralized exchanges, incorporating that into stable coins, building that into synthetic assets. How do I use that, and what do they need? And so we then worked with developers to identify what that is, and we now have more than 40 developers building on top of Trueflation.com. So that's how we sort of have taken that example of, how do I market this, how do I scale this, how do I distribute this? And these are the disruptors of tomorrow, and will change and bring a new system that people can opt in on or not. They have the choice to stick with the way they like it, or opt into this new Web3 infrastructure world.
So I've never heard the word Trueflation ever used. Has anybody? Trueflation? Okay, so you guys have been reading stuff then, and you work with him. That's the problem. Apart from that, who's heard of Trueflation?
There's a bus going around Austin. You can see Trueflation and experience how much food is going up, how much energy costs are going up. And if you think about it, the government, who actually announce inflation, have a totally vested interest in making sure that they can curate the content. The core CPI, the core consumer price index, So you would think that's everything that's really core to my household, excludes food, excludes utilities, energy costs. Where has prices been going up the most? It's been food costs have been going up, as well as the gas costs, right? I think I saw a sign in San Francisco, $9.50 for the gallon. I mean, no?
Yes. Yes. $9.50 in San Francisco. There's certain gas stations that in little premier towns, it's $9.50. Take it or leave it, and you take it. Yeah. So it's
And
there.
so what's going to happen? How is the world going to change, right? If you think about it, do I want my Netflix subscription, or do I want to be able to go to the grocery store in a car to go buy food? I will most probably save on the Netflix subscription, especially if the content's not so good, and then use that funds to then allocate or invest in more crypto and get more, stack my sats.
So that's really cool. So Jason, when I mean, your background, derivatives and then lending, right? Probably the most important financial function that we have today. I don't know if there is one person that doesn't borrow in some fashion. And I really like the premise that you set up here, Stefan, which is the information we see is derived and curated for a purpose. What that purpose is, sometimes we don't have an idea of. So as you look at derivatives and you look at inflationary products and the system, what do you see happening there?
Well, I think that you're spot on, and that that information is curated, and we real people on the ground every day feel it, right? Whether you go to the grocery store, whether you fill up your car, and so as you think about the policymakers and what they're doing, they're stuck in a trick bag. They can't get out of this. If you think about the interest on the national debt, is in 2000 the amount of money that we paid to service the national debt in the United States was more than it is today, because the interest rates have been zero for so long. Now you're going to start to raise rates to combat inflation, and you're going to create this monster problem of how do you service that national debt interest, not even just the national debt, the interest. And the only way you can service that is to raise taxes or print more money, which causes the problem that you're already in. And they're not going to raise taxes because that's politically not expedient. And so when you start to think about the beauty of crypto and why this makes a lot of sense and why this is the future, beyond the innovation, beyond what people are doing that is changing how we all act and behave, and our consumption habits and our spending habits and our borrowing habits, it's really also a fight against all of those things, all the misdeeds, the things that were politically expedient at the time that have happened over the last 30 to 50 years. Those chickens are coming home to roost. And so now we're all kind of dealing with that. And so if you want to buy crypto as a hedge, but also need the money to spend to air condition your house down here in Austin or whatever the case may be, that's a natural extension of that.
So, Lou, elevate us a little bit. Looking at the globe from 12 miles up, because that's where it changes, right? It's somebody's territory, and then 12 becomes somebody else's territory, international space. If we look down, over the last 5-7 years, there have been various countries printing an inordinate amount of monies, right? And it's based on no rationale except that they can run the printing press. You look at China, you look at South America countries, you look at some of the Indian countries, and you look at America, everyone knows about that, right? You look at the borrowings that are done in these various countries and by whom, and the effect that this excessive liquidity has had on their life. As we look at, the narrative today is a lot of the coins that are out there are shit coins. They have no value. And America's going through inflation, and our mortgage rates are now like 6%, right? Gas price is $9.50. But if you look at the UK, their mortgage rate's 2%. Gas is $12 equivalent, right? And nobody else seems to be complaining. So
UK is complaining.
Yeah, because Boris had a couple of parties at home, and now everyone's shitting on it. But to elevate us in terms of the global environment, are they seeing the same pain that we are seeing here in the U.S.?
I think they do, because we're all linked. I mean, because I'm based in Paris, so I lived there for already 15 years already, and I often fly to Singapore also to Hong Kong and Shanghai, where our offices are also. They are, how to say, I guess, for example, in Shanghai, it's a little bit different because it's mostly controlled by the government. But in Singapore and in Hong Kong, I guess, where the market is relatively open to and linked to, the global market, we are all suffering the same. We are having the same wave. We're having the same inflations. We're having the same problems. And people are, I guess they are in the same trend of, looking at more tools that they can use to back up their daily expenses and back up their long-term plans and short-term, I don't know, I'd say daily life, let's say. So when crypto comes in, they quickly saw a very good tool that it can use. I guess that's what we were talking about, mass adoption, because we can say, okay, we're builders, we're building a lot of things, but if people don't use it, then it's not useful today. We're building things that probably is very useful, in I don't know, 5-10 years sometimes. But the teams that are building things for today's use are very courageous because they are solving today's problems. They will be evolving from this period to the next period and trying to survive with what's coming up in terms of social impact, political impact, financial impact, etc. So yeah, I guess that's my view on that.
So I'm going to let you start off with this, and then the two of you can answer this. So if you look at the DeFi protocols and the Web 3.0 and the new tokens that you've been created, the new ways of running and handling money, because that's how things function, what do you see? So will this transcend geopolitical environments, or will they have to be centralization or cohesiveness between countries?
I think they don't need to. Because we don't care. Because we typically don't care about how you regulate us, who regulates us, because regulation is not what crypto people cares about. We just build and you adapt, and that's how we see things.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. We work with, KuCoin has offices anywhere in the world. We move money around the world, and we're tied more to a platform than we are to. I'd be more aligned to Ethereum than I would to the local government. I'd be more aligned to Avalanche or Solana or whatever network. And my community is global. The people that are building on those platforms are global, and they interact with each other all the time, very decentralized. And so for them, that's the most important rule of law, if you will. Are those the new jurisdictions? And if you think about it, what generates an economy? It's small, medium businesses. Anywhere in the world, I think in the US, 60% of employment is with small, medium businesses. Who funds these small, medium businesses? Who gives them a line of credit? Who allows them to do R&D? It's the small local banks that really help them. And in crypto, these local banks are, KuCoin Labs, Galaxy. They're investing in small businesses that are growing. They may have 100 employees. They need to go to 500 because they need to scale this product not only in one country, Ethereum, but onto Solana, into Avalanche. So all of a sudden I'm on 3 countries. And that's sort of a lot of the thinking that builders have. And that's what we want to create. Crypto's grown to 15,000 coins because of that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I mean, that's a lead into you, Jason, directly. It's like small and medium-sized businesses are funded by leverage that are based on not necessarily fiat currency.
100%. I think that what you end up having, if you think of the ecosystem that's crypto, you can't look at it just as crypto, though. You have to look at it in conjunction with all of the financial ecosystem. If we truly believe that we are going to win, we talked about how the world is going to change. I've made a comment, in the previous panel when I had to wear a sport coat and it wasn't this warm. I made the comment that what you're going to see is what crypto, what these projects are going to do to finance is what the internet did to retail. And when I was a kid, now granted I'm a little bit older, you went to Sears and you bought your stuff and that you got what you had, right? And now it's all at your fingertips on your phone. It's right there. And we're going to see the same things happen inside of finance. There's going to be some more walls put up because anytime you start dealing with large sums of money, people get nervous, governments get nervous, You know, the banksters get nervous who were sitting there saying, no, no, no. And I think it's important for us to not just thumb our nose at them, but to help embrace them and walk them over the line, because we know what we're building is better. It's just a matter of convincing them that it's better, and it doesn't have to be an us or them, but it can be a we.
So here's a question for you. It's he who has the money controls the environment. And are you suggesting that the countries that are going to be sidestepped by crypto will allow this to happen?
I think that crypto is growing so fast that they have to embrace it. I mean, I talk to people who I've known in the business for, the last, 8-9 years, and I talk to them, they're like, I'm leaving the U.S. At some point, U.S. regulators are going to have to either adapt or that's going to move offshore. If you look at it, CZ's the richest man on the planet. Nobody talks about that. Everyone talks about Elon Musk and his Twitter war and all these things, but it's crypto people. And so when you say he who has the money makes the rules, that golden rule, like if you kind of really like pull it back, it is us. We're just the little guy right now, but at some point we're going to be the 10,000 pound gorilla. So just give it time.
Stefan, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us we will go where we are allowed to innovate. If you look at the countries or the cities that are most prosperous, even in the US, it's Texas, it's Austin. Everybody's moving from California over to Austin or Texas. Why? Everybody from New York is going down to Miami. Why? Because they're most attractive. They're free, their taxes are very low, but their prosperity is going up. And as a whole, as the floods rise or the tides rise in those markets or those cities, that brings more prosperity and then ultimately more profitability. Suarez is saying that Miami is going to overtake San Francisco in terms of total venture capital available for startups in 2 years. So, I mean, look at that. I mean, that's a huge feat. And that's not only happening in the US, by the way. You have to look at how that's happening around the world. Cities around the world are going to embrace that. Look at what's happening in El Salvador. I mean, they've chosen a totally different path. What's that going to look like in 2-3 years? It's still experimentation. We don't know. But I think innovation is innovators will go where they can be creative and have fewer restrictions to express that creativity.
So, Lou, I'm going to ask you this question. So, a point that we want to touch on, and I know it has a lot of answers to it, but very briefly, if you look at the pushback against mining, and especially Bitcoin mining in New York, and that state has just shut it down, saying, "Hey, it's not going to happen." We have to look at carbon and the environmental
Didn't
factors.
they say green mining is allowed?
Yeah, but yeah, the question is really where. So Austin, great. Texas, great. It's 115 degrees. We're using a ton of power running these air conditioners. Miami's going to be flooded before enough money is going to fund these companies. Alaska is going to melt before they can have enough mines there. Is this real? What you build on crypto and coins, is this a real problem to be worried about in terms of environment?
I don't think so, first of all. And I guess, it's not, we're not consuming more than the internet is already consuming, actually. But I do think, how internet is already consuming is a problem. It can be, but it can be solved. I was talking with Rebecca, about this. We were talking about, all the tools and problems that surges. Tools comes with problems. When we find the problems, we can solve them. And that's how, small infrastructures and tools appears in our industry, because we all learn by doing, and we don't know if we don't test. And that's what we are, that we are, explorators. We're not here just to, stand on our achievements. So we need to find new problems to, make this more sustainable. We need to create new tools to solve those old problems, and probably new problems will come out again. But what I wanted to say is, now that we look at, all the mining problems, probably it is now, but later on, a lot of projects they're working on those problems. A lot of chains, not only layer ones, layer twos, or any like a lot of how to say ecology agencies. Actually, they're working on how to make blockchain or crypto industry greener than before, or than how we can be now. So I don't think it's a problem. Typically, I don't think it would be a problem in the future. Yeah.
Okay. Do any of you disagree with that? I don't agree with her. Disagree.
I would the point that I would make is not that it's not an issue, because listen, we know how much we're consuming. The question is the narrative. And that's really the issue, is that we as the crypto community have lost the narrative. More money is more energy is spent playing video games than is used to
Elden Ring.
But so we've lost that narrative, because you don't see people saying, turn your PlayStation in. You don't say that. We don't look at it that way. It's a narrative, and we were late. And we've lost that game. And really, if you go back to the previous thought, who has the money, who makes the rules? That's where your headwind is coming from. They look, how can we poke a hole in this? I see a way, and we've lost that narrative. So it's incumbent on us to actually address the issue and say, okay, fine, we will find ways to be greener. We will use those tools that we have to address, and then subsequently we will then prove to you, okay, it wasn't this thing that you made up. We're really just better, and just come and join us.
Humans in need, are the most creative, right? That fear, the fight to fight, right? It really brings out a huge amount of creativity. And we're in Texas, and I feel Texas has been very accommodating to facilitate creativity and bring that here, right? I was just at a speech yesterday where I think G.W. Bush's nephew, was giving a speech saying at how Texas is inviting solar companies and building a whole set of land that they're setting aside and making available for solar innovation and mining fields. I think, there's resources that we need to extract out of the planet so that we can actually build better batteries, make more efficient storage of electricity, which is the big problem. So there is innovation, and I think let's let the innovators be creative. I think that's...
So we're almost out of time. Does anyone have a question out? Wrapped up? Okay, we're no time for questions. But I encourage all of you to take some of the narrative that we've heard today, and even though the market's going through a meltdown, the valuation's all gone down, listen to some of the things that you've heard today, where innovation's happening, where companies are being funded, and start to pay attention to where you look for your next investment, because we're still a long ways. We're just at the first inning of a long game. So pay attention. Thank you all so much for your time, participation, and sharing your knowledge. It's been awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.